Welcome to Build. Thank you. Yes. Oh, man. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte, and we are here live at Build Studio, New York City. We have got a ton of show to get to and an incredible week ahead of us. But first, a quick reminder to those of you watching us live. Right now, you can be a part of the show. All you have to do is think of a question and press the button right next to this video labeled Submit a Question. Or you can hit us up on Twitter at BuildSeriesNYC. If you do a great job and time permits, we may ask a few live on the air, okay? The Hollywood Bowl is a historic, world-renowned venue. Not a lot of people can say they've played there. And for those that can, well, not all of them can say they sold it out. And I can guarantee you, within that club, there is only one group who can say they did it with a set comprised of completely rearranged and reimagined versions of their most beloved songs in an entirely different genre. And those guys are my next guests. And they're called Above and Beyond. How about that, guys? Above and Beyond is here. Make some noise. So exciting. They've got a lot going on. Their new album, Common Ground, just dropped this past Friday. They headlined a show at Barclays over the weekend. Coming up this Wednesday, the 31st, they'll be screening their documentary, Above and Beyond Acoustic, Giving Up the Day Job at the Chelsea Cinepolis. We're going to bring the boys out here and have a chat in just a second. But before we do any of that, I believe we have the trailer for the film. So, Luke, let's go ahead and run that clip.
We were standing in the background just watching the audience. They were going wild for you. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
We've been DJing for 16 years, week in and week out.
It's been totally manic. We've been circling the planet in all directions.
It's kind of relentless.
So, how many hours did you sleep last night?
I think about none.
It starts as a passion, and then it becomes a job.
The idea of taking the Above and Beyond songs, stripping them away and give it a musical character, as if Above and Beyond Acoustic were this band.
Jono grew up learning the piano. Tony played guitar in a rock band, and Paavo is an incredible pianist, so why not enjoy the buzz of performing live in a band?
From the first gig in Hackney to the Hollywood Bowl, we're sort of Trojan horsing our way into some of the world's great concert venues. This Hollywood Bowl show, this is our biggest Above and Beyond show ever.
Nervous? Anyone? Never, like, how do you guys feel before?
Nervous.
It's not your average venue.
There's a general layer of intimidation. You want the musicianship to be up there.
This acoustic show is understated, and there's a lot of beauty in that side of it. But will it translate to a big venue like the Hollywood Bowl?
When you're playing live, you're actually playing that bit of that song that those people are listening to right then, which is why I never wanted to be a bloody DJ.
I think we've had this sort of pendulum of self-doubt. You know, why are we still making albums, doing gigs? It's because there's still a challenge there and it's still exciting.
How could people who are used to hearing electronic music enjoy something like this?
Going to the shows is actually become a really big part of my life.
Beyond on stage, please.
I call them life-affirming nights.
Doing something that really challenges people's core beliefs about what we are and getting away with it is the ultimate.
Guys, make some noise, please. Jono Grant, Tony McGuinness, Above and Beyond. Welcome. Welcome, guys.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Guys, thank you so much for making some time to come and hang out with us and be here for a little bit. I'm excited to dig into this documentary. It's fantastic, and I'm really curious about it, the journey and all that. But before we get into everything you've been working on, you know, the album, the shows, the tour, the movie, all that, I love starting off just finding out just how you guys doing? How's Jono doing? How's Tony doing? How you guys holding up? You got a lot going on.
Yeah, we've just done 3 dates, the start of our US tour, so they've gone great. We've been playing lots of new material. We're loving New York, spending a bit of time here. It's been great.
Yeah. We went up the what's it called, the Freedom Tower, to the viewing platform yesterday. That was amazing. Seeing New York at sunset very nice.
Yeah, and you guys are in New York for a little bit longer, right? I know on Wednesday we're going to do screening of the film and all that. Do you know how much longer after that you're going to be around? You making time for some more sightseeing? Anything else?
Well, I'm going to be flying back on Wednesday, but then I'm back in the
Wednesday.
States on Monday. So
Okay. Oh, really? And you're back on Monday?
just a glutton for jet lag, you know.
Well, I mean, there's one, I mean, just looking at how much content you guys have released and the quality of content and what you've done, and then watching this film, you get the sense that you both don't sleep anymore, is what I feel like after watching this, because there's just so much amazing stuff. How have you...
I mean, it is true. Sleep becomes the most valuable commodity in your life, which is kind of weird because you're not really doing anything. You're just lying in bed, but you look forward to that idea of being tired when you can go to bed and being in bed when you're tired, and those things seldom coincide. I think probably the thing I do, one of the things I do most when I'm not asleep is pretend to be asleep in a dark hotel room before a gig, trying to get a disco nap and failing. But, you know, it's worth it in the end.
And I think the irony of it is actually when we're DJing, we probably get more sleep than we did when we did the acoustic tour.
Really?
Yeah, even though the gigs are later.
Yeah, we're going to get into exactly why that is, but I'm curious. We're not getting too deep and turning this into like a psych evaluation. I'm curious because I know what keeps me up when I can't sleep. I've got a lot of stuff going on. I'm thinking about what am I going to do tomorrow? I've got to finish this project, that project. I'm curious what prevents you when you're trying to sleep. What leads you to pretending to sleep? Is it the same kind of
just
stuff?
because, you know, just difference in time zones, jet lag.
God, it's jet lag that
yeah,
does it. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, you're on. So if you're on late at night in America and you're just coming from the UK, that feels like you're going on stage at 5 o'clock in the morning. So you're all out of whack. And then by the time you do get to bed after the show, your body thinks it's morning next day in London, so you shouldn't really be going to sleep. So it's just hard to kind of keep the sleep thing regular.
Well, it's pretty funny because you talk about in this show too that there's I don't know if it was like 9 or 16 years of your life where you were just on the road. This is what you've been doing. So you would think after all that time your body would adjust to that, but it sounds like nope, it's still pretty hard no matter what, no matter how long you do it.
Yeah, you're fighting nature, basically.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's dig into this film, man. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the window, sort of pulling the curtain back and sort of seeing a lot of stuff. But I want to go back a little bit further, you know, because before you got to the Hollywood Bowl and all that stuff, before the live shows, a couple of years before you did the acoustic album, and I'm curious, what led to the decision? Whose idea was it? Let's do acoustic. Like, where does that all start?
It was a thing that I really wanted to do. We tried to do an electronic live show in Beirut, and I think whilst it was moderately successful, it wasn't entirely enjoyable. We were trying to keep up with machines, which is kind of impossible. Anything a human can do in an electronic production generally isn't as good as a machine can do it. It's the organic acoustic elements within a production that give it the humanity. So the idea was stolen from MTV Unplugged, really, which is just to take the songs and completely rearrange them in a form where the human frailty of performance was not a weakness, it was a strength. And it took a while for us to kind of convince ourselves that we could do it, and our musical director, Bob Bradley, was instrumental in giving us a kind of template for how the thing could sound, so it would be, yes, stripped down, but still pretty cool. And I think once we were all on board with that direction, it was just a case of learning the parts and giving it a go.
Jono, how did you feel about it initially? Were you all in, or did you take some convincing as well?
I think I'm my own worst critic, so, you know, putting myself out there as a musician was quite a hard thing. I've got a lot of quite talented musician friends who I really look up to, and we actually brought one of them on tour with us, which was great. So yeah, it's quite a scary thing to do, really, because I'm much more comfortable in the studio. Yeah. You play something in once and then edit it, whereas live, you haven't got a second time, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You've got to nail it in that moment. Talk about the decision when going acoustic that there's like, I know at least one original composition on Acoustic II. Forgive my ignorance if there was more on Acoustic original, but when it's primarily rearranging and revisiting and sort of reinventing existing material. What led to that decision as opposed to let's change things completely and write a whole bunch of new songs?
I think for it to be, I suppose the template of MTV Unplugged, apart from the cover version, which we didn't really do, was to play your old hits, but rearranged so that people maybe didn't know what song it was at the start, but they would know it. And given the stretch we were asking our fans to undertake in terms of, you know, their acceptance of it, I think to change the songs and change the format would have been a step too far. I mean, the thing that maybe people don't realise is that all the songs were pretty much at the same tempo as they are in their electronic form. Yeah. just at half speed. So that's often how we'd write the songs in a simpler form. So it wasn't a huge stretch in terms of the arrangement. It was just obviously, you know, there was fun to be had when we changed the time signature, for example, with Blackroom Boy, turned into a 6/8 thing, which, you know, was a bit complicated, but most of the rest of them are pretty close to how they were written.
Is that so? Even when you're writing non-acoustic, when you're doing your traditional records, are you writing in half time? Is what you're saying, and then you'll double the tempo?
Quite often, the backing track will be just piano. I mean, if you listen to Always, that's pretty much how an awful lot of our tracks start. I'd say probably 70% of them start with just a simple piano track or a guitar track, and then the production is added later. Some of them are built on stuff that sounds like dance music, but quite often, in terms of the songwriting, the original demo, I guess you would say, is halftime. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. There's you know, we talk about EDM versus the acoustic music, and how you were saying you have friends that are musicians that you look up to and all these different things. And sort of EDM has always been perceived. There's a great moment in the film. You guys are in Queens, and like the Queen's avatar, like this guy with a flannel shirt and an opinion shows up, and he's like talking to you guys about music. And you mentioned that, you know, you do a lot of dance stuff. And he's like, oh, that's noise to me. I can't handle any. I don't know what that is. And you were like, well, we're doing it all acoustic now, and we have real instruments. And suddenly, like, he has no idea what you're playing, what it sounds like, but he's okay with it now. He's like, oh, you're playing instruments. That's cool. The reason I bring that up is, was there a small, tiny part of your brain to sort of sneak into that part of the culture with this project and be like, haha, these are the same songs, and now you think they're great? They've always been great. The music is great, inherently. It's not, there isn't a difference. There doesn't need to be this stigma that EDM, they aren't musicians, they're turning knobs. Like, no, you guys are incredible musicians.
Yeah, I think the irony of it for me is that I actually really respect people who don't even play a note and kind of program stuff on laptops. There's amazing kids out there who can do this stuff. But yeah, I think it sort of adds value to the songs, and for existing fans as well as new fans. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have discovered Above and Beyond through the acoustic thing. So it's been a gateway drug, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of everything we do is aimed at people who like us already. I think that's been, I wouldn't say the secret of our success, but you know, a really important part of the story of Above and Beyond is that we've engaged with our existing fans. We've encouraged them to talk to us and each other about our music. And I think the thing that we've found is that they are the people who get us new fans. And so everything that we do pretty much is giving them the ammunition to go out and get us more friends and family. And I guess the acoustic thing was especially useful in that way, because, you know, if you've got a brother or a sister or a girlfriend or a wife or a mum or a dad or granddad who doesn't really like dance music but can understand this. I mean, it's essentially 1960s John Barry pop, really, is the way it was presented. There was nothing on stage younger than 60 years old. So, I mean, there's not really anybody in your family who's not going to have seen or heard something a little bit like Above and Beyond Acoustic. So, it was really for our existing fans to get off on, really, that.
Well, you talk about the significance of your fans and how they sort of give what you guys do purpose, and you describe your Above and Beyond. You said we've always been sort of an inclusive band more than an exclusive band, and I think you kind of touched on that, but could you elaborate exactly what you mean by inclusive versus exclusive?
I think that was you.
Was that me? Go on. I suppose there's a tendency in all forms of music to kind of have this exclusive club vibe where you're either in the club or you're out of the club. And really, you know, music should be about music, not about who's cool and who's not cool. And I think, you know, we've tried to just sort of concentrate on making music rather than being cool. So it comes from within, I guess.
For sure. I want to talk about, so we know, Tony, it seems like it was kind of your idea to go down this road to begin with. Were you guys, from the beginning, decided that we're going to film everything? We're going to make this documentary. When does it become a film, I guess is the question.
Well, I mean, this is Acoustic Stage 2. The original idea was to do MTV Unplugged in a little studio and film it, and that would be the end of it. But we did it because the room was so small, we needed different camera angles, and we couldn't get them all in one night. Huh. So we filmed it over 3 days, and by the end of the third day, we were all like, this can't be the end of this. We need to do this again. And I was outside talking to James, our manager, Jono's brother, and he was like, we need to do this again. We've got a couple of dates at the Greek Theatre coming up. Maybe we can do those acoustic. So that was in 2013, I think. And then went better than we could have expected, and so we decided we were going to do it after the next album and do a big tour. And it's something we do so infrequently and something that is so expensive for us to do. We just wanted to capture it in every way that we could. So, you know, we hired Paul Dugdale to film the Hollywood Bowl. We had 19 cameras, you know, and that was like, you know, the best possible guide. Filmed the Rolling Stones in Cuba. And, you know, doing a documentary, we have Miles, who has done a lot of work with us, followed us around for years with his camera. So we thought, why don't we get him to do a documentary of it while we're doing it? And, well, you can see it next week or this week.
Well, I'm glad you did, because it is a fascinating process to watch and to watch you guys experience, and seeing like all the weeks leading up to it. And it really does come off as sort of this transformative, life-changing experience. And I'm curious now, you know, coming back to EDM, I want to talk about the new album in a second. It's hard to watch somebody go through this and think you were completely unchanged. Like you learned something, you gained something from that experience. What have you brought with you back to your EDM shows now? Because it's a completely different universe, I imagine. That audience, that vibe, this audience, this vibe, you know?
I think for me, the biggest thing is a freshness, because we've been doing dance music for about 17, 18 years or something like this. And if you do something all the time, it could get really stale. Yeah. But simply going away and having a kind of vacation in another world enables you to come back to what your day job is, with a fresh mindset. So, I personally felt really enthusiastic towards dance music after doing the acoustic, because it just reset the books, really. Yeah.
Tony, how about you after the experience?
I'd agree. I think a change is as good as a break, and I think maybe the acoustic thing has made us a little bit more relaxed about how we present songs. I think it was easier for us to take the decision to release Always and do an old-fashioned performance video for a track with no drums, having done acoustic and having had the positive reactions to that. I think that maybe was easier. But really, our bread and butter is the electronic stuff. And as Jono said, I think we approached the writing and production of the new album maybe with more excitement and enjoyment than we might have done had we not had the break.
You can definitely kind of feel that vibe on the new album, and I think it's great. The reviews are great. Everybody's really in love with Common Ground, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I'm curious, too, and I think you kind of answered this in talking about Always, but like this, as we said in the trailer, took a big risk. This was a big risk, objectively. This was a risky thing to do, and it seems like with Always, you guys have gotten more comfortable with taking risks. Outside of Always, are there other risks you think you took with Common Ground, maybe in the production, maybe in the songwriting, or I know Always is kind of like the pinnacle, because you wouldn't typically release that as a single, I don't think.
I think with this album, we kind of made a conscious effort not to make it 13 radio edits, to kind of give the songs their breathing space. And I think we've, over the years, got a bit more confident about doing that. I mean, when we started our career, we were trying to sign our records to major labels in the sort of early 2000s. And then what happens is you sign a track to a major label, and then they don't want the next one. And then you're like, what are we going to do with this? And then, so over the years, we've just basically turned our career into doing what we really, really want to do, rather than what someone else wants us to do. So I think, just the ability to, not worry about the length of songs and things like this. I have so many conversations with people, other artists who say, "Oh, you're really lucky because you get to play what you want," and things like this. And I'm thinking, well, shouldn't any artist really play what they want? That's the point, yeah. But it's interesting because I think there's a kind of, particularly in dance music, there's a kind of service mentality that creeps into this space where, the DJ must play to the crowd, and there's a lot of truth in that. But you've got to play to the crowd from a palette that you love, and from music that you love, not music that you think will get a reaction. So I think that's how we've always approached it, and we're just going a step further down that way, really. And the songs have a bit more space, perhaps, on this album, which I think is a nice thing, yeah.
Tony, generally agree?
I would completely agree.
There we go.
There's a bit more guitar on this album than there was on any of the others.
Well, what's funny? I was watching the video for Always, and I was like, I got to ask him, why's Tony the only guy carrying his gear? You guys are walking around out there.
That's normal. The back line is normally at the venue, so it was in this case as well.
That was funny. I was like, man, he must drew the short straw, man. He's carrying his guitar everywhere he's got to go. Guys, I only got to touch on stuff that we got to turn it over to the audience in a second, but congratulations on this album. The film, Above and Beyond Acoustic, giving up the day job. There's a screening this Wednesday in the city on the 31st in Chelsea. People look it up. You got to see this movie. It's fantastic. And the performances are gorgeous. Now, I mean, they sound great. They look great. It's just a great viewing experience. So thanks for everything. Congrats on everything. Let's go ahead and turn it over to the audience. We have some microphones in the room. I think our first one's right here.
Hi, nice
Hi.
to meet you. I'm massive fan. My question for you is, I think as fans, we all have that one song that sparks so much emotion in us because all your music is so relatable. For me, it's Blackroom Boy. What is the one song that always, whenever you play it, when you first made it, that will spark the most emotion in you?
I think it changes depending on what week it is and what we're going through. To be honest, I'm not sure that I have a favorite. The thing that's really surprising, people come and see us 10, 20, 30, 50 times sometimes. And a lot of what we play is the same. And we're actually really happy we've got another album's worth of material, but people still want to hear Thing Called Love and Sun and Moon or whatever. We're playing these things, I don't know how many gigs we've been to. And the thing that amazes me is I kind of look forward to hearing them still. Yeah. So I'm not sure that I have a single one. It depends, again, what I've been going through and whether there's a song that's resonating with, what's happened this week. But I'm glad that they still all really work for me too.
Yeah, I agree with what Tony said. And, you'd think they would get boring for us, but they don't really. I think at the moment I'm into Happiness Amplified just because it's the latest thing we've done. And we're working on a club mix of that, and we tried it out at the weekend, and that was really nice to play. So I'll go for that one, but yeah, I agree with Tony on it.
Very cool. Thanks for your question. Next one looks like it's going to come from, right over here.
Hey guys, great show. It was awesome. My question is, it's been nearly 2 decades. What keeps you passionate? And I know you mentioned that acoustic was a fresh change for you. So with your answer to that, do you see any future changes similar to that?
I think predicting the future is a fool's game. I think we approach the future like a man in a rowing boat. You can see where you've been, but really the future is kind of a mystery. So who knows? Acoustic is a wonderful luxury car we have in the garage that we may take out again at some point. We're really just starting the tour on this album, so I'm looking forward to playing more of Common Ground to people on this tour. That's probably the most immediate future that I'm looking forward to.
But in terms of what keeps us engaged, right?
Yes, what keeps you passionate after 2 decades?
I think for me it's the fact it's not easy. It's still a challenge to make a record, and to make a record you're really proud of. That's still it's something you never master because it's an ever-moving target, I think, in your own mind and what else is going on out there. So I think, that for me is the thing that, keeps me engaged. And also, I've said this before, but I think that when you start making music, you make music for you, and you lock yourself away in the studio, and it's great fun, and yeah, it's all very nice. But when you've got a fan base that are engaged in what you do, suddenly your music has purpose. The purpose of your music was just to enjoy making it before, but then when you've got a fan base, there's a secondary reason there, and that really motivates you. Especially, when you're jet lagged on the road, you're going to make sure you're going to put on a good show because people have paid to come and see you, and it means a lot to them. And I think that's really important and a massive driver. Yeah.
When you talk about the significance and importance of that fan base, when you guys were doing acoustic, in a way, you got an opportunity to be a lot more intimate. There's a lot less movement and jumping around, and the crowd ceases to be sort of this big horde of love and vibes and becomes sort of, you can see them individually. You can see the people crying and tearing up and singing along. What was that like when that hit you in that moment when you realized this isn't just production-wise a different show, like this is a different connection?
When we did the first London gigs, people were this far away, and we play our songs at clubs in a darkened room, and you can see. I suppose you're looking at people over certain periods of the gig, but not throughout the night, and not throughout the songs the way it pans out, and actually see people's faces changing. I remember when we played Satellite acoustically in London, and on I think the first night there were these 2 women who sat where you two guys are, with their eyes closed, and at one point both of them just burst into tears, and it's incredibly moving. I guess that's why you make music. You're trying to communicate a certain feeling and a certain emotion, and to see it actually working in that way, it's wonderful, very rewarding.
That's amazing. We have time for 2 more. Our next question's going to come from right over here.
Hello. Another one of us.
The guys with the Above and Beyond hats that are all sitting together. Who would have thought all the questions?
A-team.
Please, thank you for all your questions, guys. Let's go next one.
So my question is, what is your greatest inspiration to make such melodic and tranquil music? Well, we just love it and adore it. So what is the greatest inspiration?
God, to sum that up in an answer, I don't know. There's just something about music when you hear a certain set of chords or harmony or vocal that just elicits feelings in people. And I think when you're making that, like Tony was saying about in answer to the last question, I think the incredible thing about music is that you can be feeling something, you can turn that into a piece of music, and then have someone else feel that. I don't know if that answers the question really, but it's that's an amazing thing.
I guess it's the effect of other people's music on us, and wanting to do that. 99% of the musicians that I love and listen to, I sort of think of as being up here, and I'm trying to get up there with songwriting on music or whatever, to have the same effect on other people that those songs have had on me. And I think, honestly, that's something that you always strive for. I think no matter how long you're doing it, no matter how many people tell you what you're doing is wonderful and you can see the effect of it. To me, there's still something magical about music made by people that I look up to. It's not like you suddenly feel like you're in the club with those guys. They're still just as out of reach as they were when we started. And I love that, because that gives you the inspiration to really try.
Yeah, having records that you wish you'd made, I think that's, you hear a record on the radio and you think, I wish I'd made that. That's a great feeling, I think.
Yeah, awesome. We have time for, it looks like, 1 more question, and we're gonna, there we are, all right.
We got our group over here.
Let's try a question with somebody from somebody without a hat, shall we?
Hi guys, my name's Pete. Huge fan of your work. First, I'd like to say thank you. My brother and I live here in New York. We produce under the name Andin. You guys have played our stuff on ABGT a few times, so thanks very much for that. My question stems from a conversation I had with Elke Klein about 6 months ago. He said that he started up Days Like Nights because he observed that progressive house and deep house as a whole was moving in this darker, emotional direction. And he wanted a platform to release uplifting, happy music, basically. That uplifting emotional side is very much what I view the Anjuna MO as. So I'm curious, do you guys observe any particular direction in this genre outside of Anjuna from an emotional perspective that this music is moving? And if so, how does that affect, or does it affect, the direction you want to drive Anjuna Beats and Anjuna Deep and the records you're signing to the label? Thanks.
30 words or less.
I'm not sure that we're aware of those trends or trust descriptions of those trends enough to think that they are real trends. We generally sign stuff that we like, we make music that we like, and within the realms of dance music and the remixes that we're able to commission, I guess we move around in the space as it exists now. But we're not thinking, this feels like in 6 months' time this is going to be happening, Gabba techno is going to come back. Let's sign some Gabba techno.
We navigate it really by feel, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, if we feel something's great, we'll go for it. But we're really not thinking in terms of fashion genres, descriptions even. It's really about, does this record feel right? Does this thing feel right? I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I think that method and that approach speaks to the level of passion from the fan base, the level of success you guys have achieved. It's because of this, lack of a better word, authenticity that you're operating on what you feel and what you're driven by and what you're inspired by. And it's a very real thing. And I think that's why it resonates with a bunch of people. That's my take. Guys, thank you so much for the awesome questions. And thank you guys for hanging out with us. Let's make a little bit of noise for Above and Beyond, please. Tony and Jono for being here. The film,
thanks a lot.
Giving Up the Day Job. You can see it starting this week at Chelsea in New York City. Look it up. Common Ground is out now, and they're out on tour. Above and Beyond, everybody. Come on.